Hello everyone, I'm Ariak Wolf, and here is my critical review of Borderlands the pre-sequel. If you're not as yet familiar with the Borderlands video game series, they are shoot and loot games with crass humour and an amusing and widely varied set of characters. I am a big fan of Borderlands 2, however I do not have bias in favour of the series. With that in mind, let's move on to the review. Borderlands the pre-sequel is set in the time period between the first two games, intended to fill in the main villain in the second game, Handsome Jack's Rise to Power. The game was released on October the 14th, 2014 in Australia, the 10th in the US. The game was released with Day 1 DLC, and as of the 25th of February 2015, has only had 3 updates, with 3 other DLCs having been released, bringing the number of DLCs up to 4. Also, there has been no free content added apart from a small event around Halloween, where a player had a chance to obtain a unique gun. The graphics of Borderlands the pre-sequel make heavy use of shell shaders, giving the game a rather comical effect. The landscape is very nice to look at, however most of it is not accessible due to various invisible walls. However, not a lot has changed since Borderlands 2. There are a lot of reskin characters, and while they somewhat fit the moon setting of the game, I'm disappointed that the development team, which is a different one from the previous 2 games, Australian based I may add, didn't try harder in varying the enemies more. That aside, any improvements over the last game in terms of graphics? Nope. The same engine, just with a bunch of reskinned enemies and slightly tweaked characters. The moon setting is a nice change, but the landscapes of Borderlands 2 campaign packs were more enthralling. What about the story then? Not everyone really cares about the graphics, so come on Ari, the story. Well, its delivery was much better than that of both of its predecessors, but I'm not of a mind to say it was better. Cutscenes were more frequent than that of Borderlands 2, there were very few in number 1, and attempts to drag you in. The actual plotline was much easier to follow than that of Borderlands 2, however short the game is. And that is my main problem with the storyline: length. I understand that it may be quality over quantity, but while Borderlands 2 had many moments that swung you right back to the story just when you were getting sidetracked, the pre-sequel has very little to do so. It mainly relies on an exorbitant amount of pop culture references to keep you amused, but none tell the proper story. The story gets more involved towards the end, and for that I am grateful. But when you have a game where the main story is around 10 hours in length, and only an hour which is remotely interesting, ignoring the side quests for the moment, it is very much a ho-hum grinding affair. The side quests were more interesting than that of Borderlands 2's. Borderlands 1 was in my opinion the best, but many added a lot less weight to the narrative and were intended as jokes or merely references. The gameplay, or gunplay, is an entirely different matter to the story, however. It is fluid, simple to learn, but the tiniest of challenges to master, and a blast with friends. And it is almost exactly the same as Borderlands 2. The enemies are reskinned, with perhaps a few new strange, Iridians, for an example, with another good example being the scavenger lunatics that behave almost exactly like the Psycho from Borderlands 1 and 2. Guns are much the same, with no new manufacturer being introduced, which probably should have been, but you know, they decided to take that out. Scavenger weapons are rehashed bandit weapons under a new name. That's an example of just in case you were wondering about that. And normal guns acting very much the same on Elpis as on Pandora. The lasers and Cairo weapons are a welcome addition though. Laser weaponry comes in the forms of railgun, shotgun and beam, and each are decidedly fun to use. Cairo weaponry is something that I wanted back in Borderlands 2, but now thinking about it, some enemies had similar attacks back in Borderlands 2. Each Cairo bullet has a chance to freeze an enemy, making for a very satisfying melee or ground slam, amusingly named Butt Slam. That gets me onto the movement within the pre-sequel. Movement is a lot freer than it was in Borderlands 1 and 2, with me truly believing it was the only innovation made with this game. Through the use of an Oz kit, the player can double jump, float, and slam the ground, damaging enemies. Overall, Borderlands the pre-sequel for me was a massive disappointment. For the $70 Australian dollar price tag, I was expecting something that would be an excellent addition to the series. Unfortunately, this was not to be the case. The pre-sequel really feels like it's something thrown together in a short amount of time, with the same graphics as the previous game. I can't recommend this game to a gamer unless they really want to know more about the Borderlands universe or just want to shoot some lasers. My final verdict on this is 6 out of 10. It played well, the story is better than the last game, but it is really lacking in terms of any real innovation to add to the series. It really just feels like a standalone expansion with a AAA title price tag. And there you have it, guys. That was my review. I do hope you enjoyed. I actually scripted this for once. It's a lot shorter than I expected it to be, but I like keeping that short and sweet. A few things I may add, because I wrote this up quite a while ago. Sorry I stumbled on a couple of words, but yeah, the game is essentially the same. I forgot to add in also the user interface, or the graphical user interface, UI or GUI, is exactly the same. They didn't change it at all. What else was there? There was the enemies. They're essentially stalker-like creatures. The Kragans, they're kind of a nice addition, but they don't really make a difference. Yeah, but I really thought that the only innovation in this game was the movement, and that's about it. But yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. Let me know whether you want me to keep scripting these or whether you love me stumbling over my words during commentaries. Anyway, guys, I'll see you all in the next video.